What's up, guys? Welcome back to Eventual Acres. It's been just over a month now since I planted my garden, and if you've been following the channel, then obviously you know that it was a lot smaller than this. The tomatoes, I gotta say, were probably about this big, and now I can't believe how much they've grown. The flowers on the tomatoes are starting to bud, so hopefully that means we're gonna be getting some tomatoes growing soon, which I am super excited for. I hope you can see the green beans behind me and the squash and the zucchini. They're all growing in. I want to kind of fill you in on a little something though. The green beans, I've kind of been having a lot of issues with. If you've been following my channel for a little bit, I've been posting some shorts about them. I've been dealing with an overwatering issue. And as of today, when I came home from work, I noticed that something got into my green beans. So as you can see, something very clearly had a free-for-all in here. All of the leaves that were on these are just completely gone, completely eaten and torn off. So I'm not quite sure what to do from here. I think for me, I kind of want to see if anything grows back. I do have these green beans still growing and they're looking okay. They're pretty yellow. And again, as I mentioned, I've been dealing with a little bit of an overwatering issue. Part of that overwatering issue is largely due to the fact that it's been raining like crazy here. I don't really know why, because I don't really feel like we get this much rain in summer. But in the past 24 hours alone, we've gotten 3 inches of rain, and it's expected to rain for like the next 7 days. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do as far as overwatering goes. I'm not too worried about my raised bed because any excess water is just going to drain out at the bottom, especially with all the sticks and logs I put in there. It actually kind of acts as a great filtration system. Any dirt and soil that gets overly wet is just going to drain that excess water out. Now, again, if you've been following my shorts, I've been kind of just having to pour out a lot of that water out of the bins that my green bins are in. And I also realized that I'm an idiot because there's a container at the bottom of the bucket that comes off. Yep, right here. So any excess water, I've just kind of been pouring out from the top and just letting drain from this little crack right here. I didn't realize that this little crack right here is actually just a container that seals off the bottom. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take that right off. Oh yeah, look at all that water that's in there. So again, like I said, it's been raining a lot. It's rained 3 inches in the past 24 hours. So all that water needs to come out. And now that I've got that off, hopefully all the excess water that's in here will drain out. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing for the rest of my plants that are in buckets. I'm going to do that for my green beans, my squash, and my zucchini as well. Let's try not to pour out my zucchini like I did my squash. So there's definitely extra water in here too. But I don't really want to accidentally pour that out. So I'm just going to let it drain out the bottom. That's the whole point of why I took these off anyways, is to let it drain out the bottom. So I'm not going to be an idiot and almost destroy my zucchini like I just almost destroyed my squash. Now, if I did pour out my squash like it just almost did and it were just completely fallen out, really I wouldn't have been too upset because I don't know how well you can see. It's not looking that great. Something I think also ate this along with the green beans, but it's also just been yellow the whole time. It hasn't grown. My zucchini here is looking great. I would have expected my squash kind of be on the same track that the zucchini's on because, again, they come from the same family. They're both squashes at the end of the day. But my zucchini's looking great. My squash is not. And I don't really know what I'm going to do with that. I don't really expect it to grow. So I'm not upset. It's actually kind of a funny thing and a good thing that out of all of these plants, that this is the one that I decided I wanted to accidentally dump out. But I'm not giving up on it just yet. maybe it'll grow. Who knows? My green beans, they're looking awful also because, again, overwatering and something ate it. So maybe they'll grow, maybe they won't. We'll see. And then the other green beans, they're just yellow. Again, I think due to overwatering, but now that I took the containers off, they'll be fine. Maybe they'll actually start looking good. But something that has surprised me with my garden this year are actually my peppers. So if you've been following the channel, again, I've been posting videos of every step of the process with my gardening. And I really thought my peppers were just done for. I had them in the cells for way too long. I had 3 to 4 saplings in each cell. I didn't take care of them like I took care of the tomatoes. I put the tomatoes in red solo cups, left the peppers in the tiny little cells. And when I planted them in the raised bed, they were like that big. I didn't think they were going to grow at all. They were yellow. And then, I started talking about the overwatering issues with those as well because I was watering my tomatoes every day. Therefore, I was watering my peppers every day. Again, I had no hope in my peppers, and they've actually surprised me a little bit. So, hidden in this giant mess of tomato plants, I've got my peppers growing right up front. That one is still teeny tiny, about the same exact size as when I planted it. But I guess that kind of gives you like a good idea of how much my peppers really have grown, and I am absolutely shocked. Now, they're not as big as my tomatoes are, but the fact that they've grown to this size blows my mind because I really honestly thought they were done for. Now, my tomatoes, I've kind of just let go wild. I have pruned them a little bit to the best of my ability, taken suckers off. The early stages of flowering I pulled off because I really wanted the root system to develop and I wanted like a strong stem system. But now that they're as big as they are and we're in July now, I don't think I'm going to continue to pull off any more flower buds. I want to let fruit start to grow. And just the size that they've developed to blows my mind. So I can't wait to actually see fruit start growing on this. So I planted 3 Roma plants, planted the bush steak hybrid and the super steak hybrid. So the stem system is really looking great. They're thick. I've got flowers growing, as you can see, all throughout, which are super nice. I've got the marigolds that are still looking nice. Maybe not these ones over here. I think they got hit with the rain a little bit harder, but the stems are nice and thick. They're strong. However, this one is looking a little weird. It looks like 3 stems almost grew out of the ground, and I don't really know what's going on with that. So something really cool with my tomatoes is specifically this one right here. Again, it's kind of hard to differentiate because it's just one giant mess. But this right here, which I gotta say is probably the second biggest compared to this one, was one that I thought I accidentally killed. When I was pruning it, it was one of the first tomatoes I was pruning, and I couldn't tell the difference between a sucker and a branch at the time. And I was kind of just like snipping everything. And basically, one side of the plant actually had branches and it was like leaning this way. It started to turn yellow. I thought I killed it. And the fact that it's the second biggest plant is honestly really cool. But because I pruned it all wonky, that could also be why like it looks like 3 different stems are growing out of the ground. Probably to make up for my mistake, it forced itself to grow more stems. I don't know. But I can't stop. It, it's so awesome how something as small as a tiny little seed can turn into something so big. And once it starts fruiting, it's going to be so rewarding. I'm so excited. I really can't wait. Now, I've got one more thing to show you guys before I wrap this up. Again, I keep talking about my shorts, and I really kind of hope you guys are checking those out because not everything I post in these long form videos end up in shorts, and not everything I post on shorts end up in long form. So I kind of want you guys to check that stuff out. But in my most recent short, as of the time that I'm filming this video, I posed a question on whether or not you can grow a tomato plant from a sucker. So I kind of have been letting that experiment go on for about a week and 2 days now, and I just want to show you where we're at. I really thought a couple days ago that it didn't stand a chance. It looks very wilted, but when I came home today, I started to notice that some roots appear to kind of start to be poking out of the stem a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that in some dirt today, and I'm just going to let it do its thing. And again, we're going to see, it's still part of the experiment, but we're going to see whether or not that actually still turns into some sort of tomato plant. I don't expect it to be as big as this one right here, but I'm still curious to see whether or not you can turn a sucker into a full-blown tomato plant. So let's go check that out. So this is where we're at with the sucker right now. And again, a lot of the leaves look pretty wilted, but honestly, they kind of looked like this from the second day. And the fact that they haven't gotten any worse kind of leads me to believe that it's not dead. The water is pretty brown, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I did end up putting some tomato fertilizer in here to kind of just give it some nutrients. I saw online that you can just drop it in water and the roots will grow. Some people in my comments, and I even saw it online, said that you could just plant it right in some moist soil and the roots will grow. I wanted to try the water method, but then I got a little nervous that it wouldn't work. So I did put some tomato fertilizer in there just to give it some type of nutrients. But I'm going to show you real quick. This is kind of where we're at with the sucker. You can see that the roots are starting to grow right along the top here. They're not big yet. They're not huge. And I don't really know how they started to grow as high up as they did, because the water really only goes up to like here on the tomato. So I don't know why the roots are growing up there. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and put this into some soil today. And then we're just going to leave it alone and just let it continue to do its thing. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fill this up with soil. I'm going to put the sucker in here. And I'm just going to leave it right over here with the rest of the buckets here. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of hoping something doesn't eat it like my green beans, but we'll see. All right, so I planted this sucker right in this bucket, added some straw. For the same reason that I put straw on my raised bed and everything else, is that once I do put this out front with everything and the sun is directly on it, I don't want the soil getting completely dried out. So the straw is a good soil protector. It keeps everything nice and wet. And also, I just really don't want the leaves being directly on the wet soil because they might rot. So it's just another layer of protection for that as well. So we'll see if this ends up growing. It looks pretty horrible right now, if I'm going to be completely honest. The leaves are pretty wilted, but I think now that it's in the soil and it's getting the full nutrients that it needs, and it's not just sitting in a cup of water where it's just going to be wet and soggy, I think it's actually going to be a lot better off. So I'm kind of excited to kind of see this continue. And if it grows into a full plant, that's awesome. If not, again, it was just another trial and error. But if it fails, I think I might try this experiment again next year with fresh suckers on the plants that I haven't already pruned off. But for now, this is what we've got. So, and that's all I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed my garden update. I know that I can't get over at least how much everything has grown. Hopefully we get a nice fruitful harvest, and I look forward to showing you guys that as well. So again, as always, feel free to leave any comments down below. And if you subscribe, it would mean the world to me. Again, it helps get my videos out there and lets me connect with you guys so I can continue to learn more about homesteading. So other than that, guys, again, thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next video.